What? Off we go.
Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Ours got off to a rather rocky start this morning. We had a power outage, which in turn fried our internet access. And so, with some quick jury rigging and some very quick thinking on Renee's part, we are able to get online and able to go live. So, keep your fingers crossed that his jury rigged solution holds out. So, today we're going to be painting. This one is called Wild Iris. Something that grows in profusion around here, especially in some of the marshlands that we have in the area. We see these all the time. On occasion, we'll get the odd white one, not very often, but we do get a lot of these deep purple ones that are really very pretty. So this is a fun piece to do, and this one is another in that series of the in and out type that we did the tulip a few weeks ago. And today we're going to be doing the iris, and I have 3 or 4 more in the works as well. So simple. They do this in and out frame with a simple gold border. I think it's very effective, and they're easy to paint. They're fun to paint. And not only that, but then you end up with a nice little painting you can hang in your home. So that's what we're doing today. We do have giveaways for today, and we do have something special for you this time around. Everybody has been talking about this new line of brushes from Dynasty. This is Evo Art, these beautiful blue handled things. They are not in wide distribution yet. However, Dynasty was very generous and sent us some of these to give away. So we have a few of those. So we have 2 sets to give away. We've got a nice little set of 3 brushes a piece. These ones are generally used for watercolor and acrylics. They're a very nice, very soft bristle. They have a really nice snap and a nice return, and they hold a ton of water and paint. So you're going to love these. So 2 of you are going to win a nice little 3 brush set of these Evo Art brushes. I'm quite in love with the angled shaders and the rounds. Really like the rounds. So we've got some fun stuff. So we have that today as part of the giveaway. And of course, we always include some other fun things as well. So all you have to do to get your name on the wheel and get a chance to win one of those 2 giveaways is just join us in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, on Tracy Moore Live, or if you are on my YouTube channel. Join the chat, say hello, say good morning, tell us where you're watching from, and your name will automatically go on the wheel at the end of today's live, and 2 of you will win those Evo Art brushes. So, if you are ready to get started on Wild Iris, so am I. Of course, the machine is out of reach. Bloop. No monitor. No power to monitor.
Oh,
Well done.
that would help, wouldn't it?
It would, Ta-da! Let's see what we got here. There it is. Hi, Ramona. Are you calling me love bug, or are you talking to our friend in Winnipeg? Has Patrick given an update? I haven't seen anything, but the news is really scary. So hopefully Patrick's family is okay. They're terrible, terrible wildfires in France. So those of you who don't know, Patrick is a good friend to a lot of us, lives in France. And currently there are wildfires in the area where his parents live. So we're keeping an ear out for that. Bobby Corey, hello, my dear. Hopefully everything is good in Georgia. And Carol Gansey. Yes, Carol, I know you love purple. And Crystal Hendricks, hi, honey. Good to see you here. And Miss Maria Santos from New Bedford. And Janet Roach, hi, sweetheart. Patrick said his mom is safe and the fire stopped before they got to her. Oh, thank heavens. That's good to hear. Thanks, Janet. And Penny Frederick from hot and humid Florida. Oh, my stars. Who else is here? Sherian Fisher, hello. And Barb Schwabel, hi. And Mary Davis, hello. This is such a fun one to paint, and it looks far more difficult than it actually is. I like this series. I just think that this is such a fun series. I call them in and out because they're inside the frame and then they're outside the frame. So I really like this. I just think that these are a fun set to paint. These are the tulips that we did a couple of weeks ago. And this is the iris. And this one is not as hard to paint as you think it is. I can promise you that. I have done a little bit of prep ahead just to make sure that, we've got things done. And there's Lucy and Elaine and Carrie Henderson. Hi, honey. Yes, we do have wonderful purple lovers in our group. Robin Storm, Karen Jones, Kathy McAllister. Here's hoping. Hi, Kath. And Robert Pearson, good morning. And Carol Colbert, your favorite color is purple. Well, I'm just making a whole bunch of people happy today. And Mary Ann Green, hi. And Carol Mays, hello. Iris, you're on mobile, I think. You've probably clicked on the mobile version. If you tap the screen, you're going to see 4 little arrows in the corner pointing out. Just click on that and then turn your phone sideways. And Tina Katera and Sandy Greco. Hi, honey. And Janice Cubic Reed from Florida. Hello. And my pal Donna. Donna and Rich. Hopefully you guys are well and not bothered too much by all that horrible smoke. We got a little taste of it the other day, but not much. And Linda Morgan, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to miss you. Sometimes this chat window goes sailing by. And Marianne Cohen's. Nice to have you with us. All right, guys. There's my pal Deb Buckman Easton. And before anybody asks, tonight we are having lemon grilled chicken. I marinate chicken thighs in rosemary, lemon juice, olive oil, and a little bit of garlic, salt, and pepper. And then those go on the grill till they're nice and crispy on the skin. So that's what we're doing tonight with raisin rice and a green salad. And raisin rice is to die for if you haven't made it. It's so good. So if you guys are ready, let's get started on our purple iris. Now, the first thing that I do with this, especially on black, because we're using a lighter colored purple for this, I want to make sure that it's not interfered with by all this black. So I've put down a light coat of thinned warm white. Hi, Glendy. How far am I from Nova Scotia? Well, it depends on which direction I go. I can take a ferry from St. John, which is about an hour away from here, hour and a half, from St. John over to Nova Scotia, or I can drive. And either way, it's going to be about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. I'm originally from Nova Scotia. My family is there, so yeah. But yes, no, I'm not too far from Nova Scotia. Homemade chili and cornbread. I did that the other night. Oh, dinner should be good. So I have a little bit of warm white. I've applied a thin layer of that here. And we're going to, I love this part. We're going to start with 2 of the new colors this year. And this is them. I'm using After Dark and Lavender Haze. This one is a really pretty purple tone. This lavender haze is just so gorgeous. Absolutely luscious lavender tone. So pretty. And that's the color we're going to use as the base for these iris. It's a gorgeous color. Now, the shading color that we're going to use is this one. It's called After Dark. I love this one. This is such a yummy purple tone. When you put it on the palette, it almost looks black. Almost. And I should probably get some brushes out. That would probably be helpful. So, I've got a nice 1/2 inch angle. I've got a nice 3/8 angle. I've got a number 2 rigger. And I got my itsy bitsy. This is my Evo Art. This is a number 2 round. I really like these ones. They're a very nice brush. So we're going to start with a round. And I'm using a little bit of Joe Sonia's. I cleaned up my Joe Sonia bottle. And I'm going to load the brush up with, this is that lavender haze. It actually covers very nicely. So we're only doing 1 coat. No finger painting yet? No, well, the day is young. We shall find out. So, as you'll notice, I left a thin, narrow space between each of these segments. And the reason I do that is because I'm notoriously lazy. I hate tracing things twice. So putting it back on, putting the line drawing back on, and retracing to find all of those details, I just find that annoying, so I avoid it altogether. And this is how I do it. I leave that thin, narrow space. Now, this one covers very nicely, but even working over top of that black, it would gray the color out a little bit. And I want nice, vibrant color. Now, of course, you could undercoat with a little bit of, wisteria or whatever you like, something close to it. That would be fine too. I prefer to use a white. And then that way it's just one color for everything. Oh, you want me to zoom in? Isn't that cool? I can do that. Look at that. I love the fact that I can zoom. And bear with me today. My hands are very shaky. I had to hit the inhalers this morning because of we have a very high pollen count right now. Janice, I'm using, this is Evo Art from Dynasty. And this is a relatively new brush line. And the Evo Art brushes are really nice for working with acrylics. And I've been quite pleased with them. In fact, that's our giveaway for today. We've got some nice Evo Art brushes to give away. Dynasty is, as always, very generous. Such a nice opaque color. Surprisingly covers very well. Purples, like certain reds, are funny. Some cover well, some do not. But this one definitely covers nicely. I'm trying to avoid finger painting today with a little bit of black. We shall see how it goes. Hi, Corinna. How's the weather in Nova Scotia today? You're down in Kentville. Lovely area. Rose Frank. Hi, hun. From Washington. I agree. Both Dynasty and Duckwort have been very generous with me with my endeavors here. So they've been so good. I can't complain about Tombow. They've been fantastic, very supportive as well. So I'm going to come over here. Oh, Karen needs a minute. Hi, Rosie. Good to see you. The Evo art are available. They're just not available in wide distribution yet. But I will find out where they're available. And let you guys know. In the meantime, we've got some wonderful samples for you guys to play with. For us to give away that you guys can try out. But I'm really loving these rounds. They have a nice little angled shader too. That I'm quite pleased with. I don't often use tiny little brushes. Hi, Karen. Karen Stoll from Attleboro, Massachusetts. Yeah, we go. So, pretty color, this. It is a very pretty purple. This is that new color that's in the Duckwort lineup. It's called Lavender Haze. It's a lot brighter than I anticipated. I thought initially that it was going to be more grayed out, and it has a nice punch. I'm not sure if they have them on the brush guys or not yet, to be honest. They are a relatively new product line. So I don't know if he has them yet. I should have checked before I came on here, but I was just so excited that we had some to give away. What am I using? Lucy, Renee and I, we knew my other camera was just about done. We calculated that the other camera had done approximately over 300 lives. So it was doing some weird stuff, and we knew it was on its way out. So we decided that we were going to go with a higher end camera. And so we got this one. This one is called an Elgato Prime. And, oh, thank you, Janet. So we got ourselves a higher end camera. There's Heidi from Timmins. Hope you guys aren't getting as much smoke as some areas. And Kathy Barnett. Hi, Kathy. I try to say hello to as many people. If I miss you, I'm sorry. The chat flies by sometimes. And I don't always, because I'm looking down at what I'm doing, I don't always see your names. Oh, yeah, this thing, it can actually... Okay, here's max zoom. I can get a lot closer. So, yeah, this is a phenomenal little camera. Renee did a bit more research, and one of the things that I really wanted was a zoom, the ability to zoom in a little tighter. And then And then he set up my little control panel so that I could control the zoom while I'm painting, which is really handy. No, they don't have them yet. I will find out for you. Dick Blick may have them. There we go. Look at that. So on this big iris back here, there are spaces right here. These two right here. These are actually petals that are at the back of the flower. So they get painted the same color, but we're going to do some really heavy floating back there to make them a bit darker. So we shall do that. Oops, daisy. There we go. Okay. Now, there's a little spot in here that I just messed up. So I'm going to dry this. Now, one coat is all you really need because this really zooms in quite nicely. I like this. Oh my goodness. Well, I tried to. And the rain. What am I painting on? Hi, Henrietta. I'm painting on, this is a canvas. It's an 8x8. I kept it in the same format as all of these in and out florals. But you could use whatever you like. If you wanted an artist panel, a wooden one, a piece of MDF, or watercolor paper, you could paint this on. So you're not relegated to just using one thing. Heaven forbid. So our next color for these iris, I don't know. I've never gotten their catalog, so I don't know if they do or not. A lot of companies went to a digital version, so I might check with that. Hi, Lil. So I've got a little bit of baby duck. I love this color. And we have a little beard here, this yellow portion on our lily. So these little pieces here, and it's just a little, I'm literally just tapping in a little color. Hi, Nita. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to do that little beard on these flowers just with a little bit of baby duck. And keep in mind that these things are a little on the fluffy side, so it's okay if it's not perfectly straight. I kind of like it stippled in. It looks a little bit more realistic this way. And let's face it, we're not going for photorealism here. And then we've got a piece at the back right here. Like that. I like to get a little heavier with this one because it really draws the eye towards this flower. So there we go. Hi, Sue. And Brenda Ellis, hello. And Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Hey, Jill from Apejax, Ontario. And Kathy. My goodness, Jan Bowman, thank you. So we're going to take a little breather, and then we're going to come in and start working on these leaves. So I have used two different greens, one for the leaves and one for the stems and the stalks on these flowers. So I'm using avocado toast for the leaves, and then I'm using lush green for the stems and the stalk. There's not a big difference, but there is a little different. One is a little darker than the other. So I'm going to use a rigger, and I'm going to do the stalks first, the stems. And I'm using a number 2 rigger, and we're going to stroke in the stem on each of these lilies. We almost had me finger painting there. Hi, Sharon. A rigger brush is similar to a liner with one significant difference. If most people look at it and that's the first thing they see, this looks like a script liner. I'm going to zoom in, max zoom here a little bit so you can see this. This is a rigger. It looks somewhat like a script liner. The only difference is when you press this brush out, you get a straight chisel edge, just like a flat brush. So essentially it's built like a flat, long elongated bristles that come to a squared off edge. Whereas a liner, when you press it out like that, it rounds over like a round brush. This one creates a chisel edge. I use these almost exclusively for doing lettering, but you can also use them for doing these narrow places like the stalks and stems on these flowers. They're ideal for it. Now, the nice thing about this particular rigger is that when I press down on this, I can paint a space that's nearly a 1/4 inch wide with that brush. So it makes it very convenient for painting narrow, tight spaces. But also, because it has that chisel edge, it makes lettering so easy. Because you get that nice clean line. Here we go. So I come back to my zoom. You know what? I really like the zoom feature because it allows me to show you things I wasn't able to show you before. Oh my gosh. I love iris too, but we have this particular one is a wild one, and we have them in unbelievable quantities in this area because we have a fair amount of marshland in our area. So I'm going to paint, there's a hull here on the edge at the bud of our iris. Right there. Interestingly enough, the green is darkened by having that black background, which works in our favor. That's fine. But those lovely lighter colors, that beautiful iris tone, it's just a yummy purple, isn't it? That lavender haze is so pretty. There we go. So we have our stalks and stems based in. And I'm going to switch to a round, and we're going to move into using our Avocado toast. I love this one. Now I'm trying to pull all of the strokes for these leaves in one direction and in one long pull. The reason being that any brush marks that are made or left behind will simply fall into the pattern of the leaf. Sharon, yes, we do have a full written pattern for this available on my website. And it has full color step outs. It has full size line drawings, a complete supply list, and I think well detailed written instructions. And then, of course, you have the video to follow along with as well. But yes, it does give a detailed list of both the colors and the brushes that I use. And if you're looking for my website, it's tracymoreau.net. There's a coupon code at the top of the page as well, of the homepage, that you can use, give you a little discount. So there we are. I really love this series of greens that Decor has come out with, that lush green and then this avocado toast. It's just a beautiful shade of green. Oh, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I do try. I do try to make my patterns as easy to read as possible and hopefully clear so that you're not left not knowing what you're supposed to do. And of course, if you ever find something in a pattern, say an instruction is missing or something isn't clear enough, I'm always willing to help no matter what. I would rather you succeed. So for this part, we're not really looking for a fully opaque base coat. Just as long as it's all pulled in one direction, that's all I'm really looking for. Most of the time I'm putting a lot more than one coat of color on these. So by the time I'm done after 4 and 5. Oh, photos. I'm a big fan of lots of photos, and thankfully for digital patterns, it makes digital patterns much better to be able to put as many color photos in as I can without overwhelming them. You can always use my patterns, but I always ask that if you're teaching a class, then provide each of the students with one of my patterns. And of course, if you're teaching, we always give you a discount. So just to make it so that you can make some money. Get permission, do me the courtesy of asking. I never say no if you do. And then always provide you with, a discount so that you can teach affordably. Hi, Debbie Marlowe. Oh, excellent. I'm glad it got there. Oh, goodness. See, the finger painting has begun. I've managed to put my fingers in it already. There we go. Good gravy, Marie. Some days. I love that strawberry pattern that we did a few weeks ago. That one it's fun and it's easy to paint, and It looks so pretty when it's sitting in the kitchen. I have one in my kitchen and I love it. Da, da, da. What do you know? I finger paint a lot. Look at this. Amazing. You should have seen me yesterday. I have been prepping pieces with my new decoupage papers and just testing them out and seeing how they work and, designing a few pieces. I've been having entirely too much fun. My vacation starts tomorrow. I'm taking a mini vacay for just a week. I want to spend time working in my garden, and we have beautiful walking trails here, and I have not been out yet this year. So I've just been a little too busy. And I want to spend some time with my daughter, and, that doesn't involve packing things or painting things or whatever. Hi, Diane. Or should I say Diane and Cindy Merler from Hot, Missouri. And where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying home. We're having a staycation and just to work in my garden and my flower beds and have a glass of wine in the evenings. You know what I mean? Just to max relax for a little bit. Hi, Sandy and Lil. Lil, I'm with you there. My mother used to tell me that if you don't get dirty, you didn't have fun. So this is one of the things I love about working on a black background. I managed to get an ugly right in there. And especially when I'm working on a black background, I manage to get my fingers into everything. So I usually wait until the end of when my piece is finished and to take my rigger and then come into all of these little areas and clean up edges. I just pull a little bit of black in and clean up, sharpen the edges of things. Oh my goodness. Exactly, Kathy. So I'm going to dry this. And it looks pretty, I don't know, looks pretty rough right now, but it will start to look really pretty here shortly. Ooh. We'll make sure everything is nice and dry. Hi, Kim. So for those of you that are on your phones or you've managed to click on the one that looks like I'm sideways, that is actually the mobile version of our video. So if you want to, you can just go to my my YouTube channel and you click on live and it'll give you two options. It'll show you two streams. One will be sideways, the other one will not. And the one that is not is the full screen version. The mobile version, if you were on your phone, you just tap on the screen and four little arrows will show up in the bottom corner. If you touch that and then turn your phone sideways, you will get a full landscape version of it. So that's how that works. It's just something new that we are trying. Karen Marburg, what am I doing with decoupage papers? Oh, wait till you see. I'm having entirely too much fun with decoupage papers. This is one of them. I created a bunch of decoupage papers with botanicals, with florals, with insects, a whole bunch of things. And I'm having entirely too much fun with it. So this is one that I did. This one is decoupaged right onto a piece of like an MDF tag type thing. I used a little bit of gold foil to jazz it up. So look how sparkly and pretty. And then, hello, there we go. I used color pencil to add a little bit of extra color to one of them. Super easy to do. And then you could, of course, you can use acrylics, you can use watercolor, you can use your colored pencils, you can use whatever. And this one is just decoupaged onto the surface. I came up with a whole bunch of different designs over the weekend. This one is called Entomology. Too, because there's one up on my website already. I'm loving these. I'm having way too much fun. This one, I've done a page, almost like a scientific page, with butterflies, death head moth, jumping spiders. I know, who? Me? Spider? Yeah. A whole variety. Monarch butterflies, swallowtail butterflies, honeybees. And they're busy. There's lots of stuff on them. You can color into them, paint over top of them. You can do so many fun things with this. And I found a really beautiful quality paper so that we can print them. If anybody needs them printed, so we can print them. And they are, by the way, in grayscale, so you don't have to worry about printing them in color. And then you can add whatever colors you want. I am so hooked on these. And working on these with colored pencils has been entirely too much fun. So that's my latest project. I've been having way too much fun with it. And it's you can adhere it to almost anything. I've done 2 entomologies. So this is the newest one. And then I had done one that were more scientific. Those ones are up there. And then I did a bunch of botanicals. Oh, they're a blast to work with. You can do so many cool things. So we have a dragonfly. I love dragonflies. I must love dragonflies. I have them tattooed on my legs. No, exactly. Hi, Karen. Karen Ezzo. And Linda Johnson. Hello, Linda. So we have those decoupage papers up on the website. And and it's a download. So you can print them off on your own printer. Whether it's inkjet or laser, it doesn't matter. If you're going to be decoupaging them onto something and it's from an inkjet, you just spray both sides with matte spray. Just one light coat is all you really need. And they will work beautifully. That's what I did with those. So you can do fun things with them. Everything from paper crafting to painting. They will adhere to artist panels beautifully. So you can have way too much fun. And Fogg's been playing. Yeah. The first round I did, I got them way too dark. So I found the sweet spot. So we're going to paint the dragonfly, and we're going to need a little bit of asphaltum. And a little bit of warm white. Whoa. Okay, that just blew. Okay. The chat just scrolled through really fast. And all we have is Facebook. I lost YouTube for a sec. Let me see. Let me see. So we've got a little bit of warm white. I'm going to use my rigger for this. So a little bit of warm white. I'm going to add a little glaze. Ooh, nice. Yeah, there's no reason why I wouldn't print nicely. Brenda, I'm with you. It is addictive to make them, I gotta tell you. Playing with my tablet and I could spend hours making those, designing those, and just playing with them. It is addictive. So I'm going to base the wings. Let's zoom in again. There we go. I'm going to base the wings, much like I based the purple on. I'm going to leave a space between each of the segments. I'm going to make it as thin as I can, but I'm going to leave a space between them. I love painting dragonflies. Now, there's two ways that you could, yes, it's also therapeutic. It is therapeutic, God knows. I have a couple of signs in my studio. One says art is cheaper than therapy, but not by much. And I have another one that says perfection should be avoided at all costs, that my dear friend Sheila Landry made for me. I absolutely love it. It sits right above my desk. And Renee got me one the other day that I couldn't help but laugh at. He got me a sign the other day that says, "This is my happy place. Don't F it up." Which is a little colorful for me, but it's quite accurate. It is my happy place. And anybody that messes with my happy place is told to leave. So we have white wings. Now, when it comes to that dragonfly, you have a couple of different options. You can float the wings with a little bit of sand gray, just keep the brightest point at the outside edges, or you can fill them in like I have. I sort of waffle back and forth. I tend to prefer this way, putting 1 or 2 coats of warm white in first. I'm going to use a small angled shader. Oh, look at what I found. I found an Evo Art little angled shader that's going to be perfect for this. So I'm going to get that wet. And we're going to reach for a little bit of Bahama Blue. I love this color. So a little bit of Bahama Blue. I'm going to pick up a little bit of glaze and a tiny bit of Bahama Blue. Just a tiny bit. And I'm going to blend that back and forth just to thin it out a little. You don't want this color full strength. There we go. And I'm going to float the tips of the wings with, oh, that wasn't dry. Good Lord. I have to put some color back in because I just removed it. There we go. Oh my gosh, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. But yeah, I have habitually done this because I'm lazy. I don't like having to trace things on again. So I'm going to take a little of that Bahama Blue and we're going to put a little float right at the tip of each wing or winglet. And it doesn't have to be strong. It's just a little blush of blue at the tip. And then you're going to repeat that close to the body. And it's going to leave an open space on the wing that is bright white. Just like that. And then I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to put a little float of thinned Bahama blue right underneath that top wing. Go right over that little space with the Bahama blue. Just like so. And then we're going to dry that as well. Speaking of the decoupage papers, there is, if you look on go to my website and look at the decoupage papers and collage paper, or decoupage and collage papers, and click on that, it will take you to the designs that I have available. However, there is one there that is a sample sheet that you can try to see it, to check the quality of the print, because the prints are very high quality, I have to say. I mean, I spent hours the other day just adjusting images so that everything is nice and crisp and clear and well detailed. So there is a sample page that you can download in there for free. So go and have a look if you're interested. So there's our wings. Again, I usually come back in at the end with a little bit of black and clean up any little rough edges, but we'll do that. So I'm going to use my rigger and a little bit of asphaltum, and I'm going to pick up just a smidge of warm white and just make sort of a lighter brown. And I'm going to just quickly paint our dragonfly here. And again, I'm leaving spaces. So little dabs of that lighter brown all the way down the body to the tail. Let me zoom in a little closer so you can see what I've done. There we go. Look at that. Hi, Nance. I know, Denise. It's a shock. Everybody's shocked. I know. So there we have that little bit going down the back. And I'm going to take a little more of that warm white and make an even lighter value of that brown. I want something that almost looks like cobblestone. If you don't have lavender haze, you can use wisteria. Wisteria will work just fine, or purple petal. You just need a mid value of purple. So if you're looking for something, I would lean into the wisteria or purple petal, something in that ballpark. Now I've made a lighter value of that asphaltum mix, and I'm going to highlight. I picked up a fuzzy somewhere. I'm going to highlight those segments with a little stroke. There we go. And I'm going to go all the way down each of those segments. Doesn't have to be accurate. It's just to add a little light to our dragonfly. Oh, you could use a sparkle paint or an iridescent. Absolutely. So I'm going to dry that. And then I'm going in for just some straight warm white. And I'm going to add a brighter highlight with just a few little dots just a few of warm white going down that body. There we go. And that makes our dragonfly stand out quite nicely. So remember what I said earlier? You can take a little bit of lamp black, and any areas that got a little rough, like the top edge of this wing here, where your float of Bahama blue may have drifted over the edge, you can take a little bit of lamp black, thinned, and just clean up a few little spots. Wherever it might look a little imperfect or a little rough, it just gives you the chance to sharpen up the image a little bit. So there's our dragonfly. So I'm going to dry him, and then we're going to do one more step, and our dragonfly is done. So I'm grabbing, again, my little 1/4-inch angled shader. And I'm going to pick up a tiny amount of asphaltum. And I'm going to blend it well, because you don't want this color full strength. And I'm going to float underneath the wing and right over top of that Bahama blue with a little float of heavily thinned asphaltum. And I'm going to do the same thing close to the body. And that creates a little shadow that lets our dragonfly look a little bit more realistic. So it just gives some nice elevation to that top wing. Super easy. And force of habit, I keep lifting it up. So there's one tiny thing left to do. We're going to take some warm white. I'm going to thin this out a little bit on our rigger. And right here at the top of the wing, I'm going to put a little stroke in full strength warm white, right where it joins the body and just at the top of the wing. It adds a simple highlight, even with that warm white on warm white. You get this nice little highlight in there. So you really don't have to go into a ton of detail for that dragonfly to make him effective. Oh, can I zoom in on the dragonfly? See if I can get a little bit closer, shall I? Nope, that's as zoomed in as I can get. There we go. Now, if you've got a little bit of iridescent paint or an iridescent ink, or even a varnish with a small amount of iridescent in it, you could bring a little of that into the body, just stroke a little in, or brush some lightly over the wings. Although it's not necessarily going to give the wings a really dramatic look, it'll give you a nice subtle color shift in there that is really, really pretty and quite delicate. So I'm going to come back out here. Now, we're going to tackle those leaves. They work up probably the quickest of any of this. So we're going to tackle the leaves. And I've got a spot here that I am not happy with. There we go. There's a little transparent in there. So I've got a nice little 3/8 angle. I've even got a 1/2 inch angle. So I've got a 3/8 faux squirrel angle. And we're going to start with shading those leaves. And the color that I chose to use was this one. This is Black Forest Green. I love this color. So a little bit of glaze on my brush. And I'm going to pick up a small amount of that Black Forest Green. This is a really vibrant dark green. It has a high phthalo. There's a fair amount of phthalo green in this. So it gives you a really nice tone. Now we're going to start with the darkest areas first, and I'm going to float that green into these lower areas first. Down in here, you know, where these leaves are tucked in behind. Make sure you go right over the top of that space that's in there. That's what's going to give you that nice deep tone. And we're going to do this a couple of times, so don't panic. And I'm going to do the base of each of these leaves with a nice dark float right there. And I'm going to walk it up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so. Just like that. Let's zoom in so you can see where I'm at. Go. And this is where I see a lot of people struggling with a float. Hi, Linda and Nancy Ficardi. Oh, oh, the palette's overlapping the dragonfly. There. Better? So when I see people struggling with floating, a couple of things come to mind. And one of them is how they're using the brush. And I see it quite a lot. I'm going to turn you this way. I see it quite a lot. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we have this tendency to turn our brush. I don't know. I haven't seen Karen today. Here we go. I'm going to come back out here. I wanted to show you something really quick. I've got a panel over here. I'll show you one. When it comes to floating, I find the one thing that people struggle with, and I see it a lot, is this. So they pick up a little bit of color on their brush, just a little bit, and then they do this. Blend, 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 blend. But what they're doing is they're only going in one direction. And so you only have paint on one side of the brush. So you should be going back and forth like so. And then when I see them go to their surface, they do this. And they twist the brush on its point like so. And the problem with that is that you're only getting the paint that's in that first 1/4 inch of the brush. Whenever you're floating, make sure the entire chisel edge gets on the surface, like that. If you twist the brush up onto its tip, all you're getting, again, is that first little piece of the brush. And it doesn't give you a float, it gives you a line. Whereas if you have the whole chisel edge on the surface, you get a float. And the float is supposed to give you a gradient going from darkest to lightest across the brush. So to load the brush, you pick up a small amount of color. You blend it back and forth on the surface. You come to your surface and you pull. And this way you get that gradient of color. So you go from dark to light. If I were to do that and rotate up onto the tip, like so many of us do, because I'm as guilty as anybody else, you don't get that gradient. You only get that first little bit of color. So whenever you're working with floating, Make a conscious effort to get that whole chisel edge of the brush on the surface. Your floats will get much better. The other thing that I tell a lot of people to do is this. Just hang on 2 short seconds. I posted about it the other day. I put a nifty little sign up. This is also one of my favorite tricks, is this. This is a kitchen sponge. You get it nice and wet, and then you wring as much water out of it as you can get. And I do mean as much as you can get out of it. And then when you pick up either water or glaze, in this case, I'm using a little bit of glaze, sometimes there's too much moisture in the brush. So just touch it to that wet sponge. It'll draw off the excess without pulling all of it off. Paper towel has a tendency to pull all the moisture out and until it gets wet. And then by the time it becomes saturated, it will no longer pull moisture off where the sponge will. So you just touch it to the surface, pick up your paint, blend, 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 and then come to your surface and you can float your color in. And it'll give you a nice gradient that you can work over. Handy little tip using that sponge to adjust the water in your brush before you float. This makes a huge difference. Once you get that right balance of water in the brush, your floating is much, much better. So now that we've got all of this deeper shading in there, I'll dry this. And I'm going to pull a float up the center vein of my leaves using that same color, that black forest green. Darkest value up the center, lightest value facing out. Floats like this. Zoom out a little. Okay. Whoops-a-daisy. How's that? The sponge works so well. Oh, it makes a big difference to the quality of the float because once you get that balance right, it makes it so much simpler to do it. So I've got all my center veins in. I'm going to dry this. And I just realized I missed a spot while I was shading. I missed a couple of spots while I was shading. So this leaf has a flip over. So I'm going to put a shadow under it. This leaf has a flip over. And this leaf has a flip over. Anytime you have a shadow, you got to put a flip over. You got to put a shadow under it. There we go. Very nice. Hi, Brenda Walls. The sponge is super easy. So all I did was I got this very wet and then squeezed all the moisture out of it all together. Like take all the moisture out of it, squeeze out as much as you possibly can. So it's just damp. You don't want it drippy. And then before you load your brush, say you're using water, you take your brush out of the thing. It's more than likely got too much water in it. So just touch it to the sponge. And that draws out the excess moisture out of the brush so that when you go to pick up paint and you go to blend, you have just enough water in the brush to float with. And this works great for shading, for highlighting. Anytime you have to float color or for glazing, it works a treat. Like so. Not only that, if you're using a little bit of glaze in your brush and you use this method, you're going to find that your floats are a lot more easy to control. And the other fun thing is that they're going to be nice and transparent, and they'll stay wet so that if it's not exactly what you want or it's too dark, you can blend it right on the surface. So for the stems and the leaves, the stems and those little things on the bud, we're going to use plantation pine. I love plantation pine. This is my other favorite green to shade with. So we're going to shade the bottom of that. I'm going to bring that zoom in a little closer. I'm going to shade the bottom of these little leaves and separate these two with a float of plantation pine. Just like this. I love plantation pine. Such a gorgeous green. A float to there, a little float there. And then we're going to go down the back side, the right side of that stem, right on the chisel edge. I like to do it this way because it makes life a little simpler. I'm going to pull some of that plantation pine down the right side of each of those stems. So the darkest value is to the right. Comme ça. Love this color. There we are. So we've got a shadow in on that stem as well. So we need to put a highlight in, and we're going to use a little bit of margarita. I love this green. Oh, I hope so. Hi, Joanne. I'm loving the new camera too. No, Lucy, my brush is always flat on the surface. Point in, keep the whole chisel edge of the brush on the surface. Always. And that'll give you a really nice float. Hello. He's working nicely. Oh, pretty. Didn't you do that one with that case before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Renee's at it again. Make it another watch. You didn't put your thingy on.
Nope. Because it's not the right movement. You can see there's no date in it.
Oh, I see.
So
You're just playing.
I'm playing. Had the people's.
They're good. Some of them are in smoky environs. So I've got a little bit of margarita on my brush. And again, staying on the chisel edge, I'm using the whole chisel edge of my brush. Even if I have to turn it on an angle to highlight, I'm still using the whole chisel edge of my brush.
Hi, Linda.
Is that Mr. Franco?
Yeah.
Yeah. Little float there. I'm going to pull this down that side with a little float. It's not really a float. I'm using the brush on the chisel edge, so. Mace, that ball's not going to do that by itself.
You'd be surprised. Over here now.
Mm-hmm. So I see. Need a little bit of that margarita at the top of those areas there.
You good?
I've always believed that if you find yourself having to tip your brush up onto its point to get it in there, then you need a smaller brush. So I'm going to turn this. Oh, no, I don't have to. Hello. I'm going to float a little of that margarita right there. And a little bit right there. I like using the chisel edge a lot. Look at that. And come down here. When it comes to shading and highlight, they're the meat and potatoes of decorative painting. Getting those shadows right, getting those highlights right, so that you get a nice smooth look, or you get that nice bright look. Not everything has to be done in one go. I'm a firm believer in that. So if you have to come back in and brighten a highlight, that's okay. It's not a failing because you had to do something twice. It just means that it took a little extra to get it there. That's all. And I would rather do things in layers and have control than have to repaint a section or try to take it off. It just makes more sense to be able to do things under control. I love margarita for this. It brings flowers, they just pop to life. It's such a nice, vibrant yellow-green. Now, this leaf over here, right from the start, has looked very rough to me. But it's also the highlight side, so I can bring a little margarita in right there and sharpen that edge. And I'm going to do the same thing here because this one is just fugly. There we go. I love bright highlights. I love seeing how vibrant they are, especially on black backgrounds. I love to see that color just jump. And it kind of meh on that lush green. So I'm going to bring in a little pop here. A little bit more down this side. I want to see that vibrancy. I want things to come to life. And sometimes it just means bringing in that chisel edge of a brush just to pop the color a little bit. Look at that. How pretty. And I'm using the chisel edge to bring that color in just lightly. Look at that. Let's pop that a little bit. Yum. You need me to bring it in a bit more? How's that, Joanne? So it's still looking a little rough, but that's okay. Super pretty. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum. Just a little. Again, we're just going to tone some of these. And I'm going to bring a little asphaltum up that center vein. Like so, in these shaded areas. Like so. I love asphaltum for this. It does wonderful things without putting a ton more color on. It deepens our highlights, brightens our highlights, deepens our shadows. Just a little. I absolutely love this camera. I also love that I can play around with it. So I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to grab my rigger, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of margarita and a little bit of warm white. I'm going to make this a little more, I hate the sound of this word, opaquer. I don't like it, but apparently it's proper English. I like it a little more opaque. So I added just a touch of warm white to it, and I'm going to use the chisel edge of my brush to stroke in those little foldovers at the tip of the leaf. And I like them to be very sharp at the tip. I just think it works really nicely. Look at that. And then we've got this one. I love a good fold over. A little flip over. But I want this one to be a little sharper at that point. There we go. And then I want it to run out. There it is. Now, take a little bit of that lighter value. Hi, Janice. Did I use gesso on the board before the black? I usually use a black gesso on it. These ones are pre-primed, which just means that they've got a couple of coats of gesso on them, but I like them to be a little more sturdy, so I usually will use a little bit of black gesso on the canvas. And sometimes I'll just mix my acrylic black paint with a little bit of black gesso and just roll her on. Yes, I agree. Opaque sounds much better. A little more opaque instead of opaquer. Opaquer doesn't sound right. Rustic farmhouse. What kind of camera is it? The camera is an Elgato Prime. It's a 4K camera. It's essentially a compact SLR. That's essentially, it has all of the features of an SLR. It's a great camera. Been really happy with it. Okay. So you can take that brighter white and you can add, the odd little highlight to some of those other areas with a little stroke here and there. But I want to show you something. I was cleaning brushes the other day and I found an IPC point blender I used to use all the time, but now I can't find it again. I swear to God, these things have feet and walk away. No. Okay, guys. Where'd you go? What a fabulous point blender. I did find that one. I love IPC point blenders. I tend not to reach for them all that often because I can never find them. I found one. So this is a point blender. Look at the shape of it. It's just got this nice little point. It's a little stiffer. Sharon Elizabeth. Oh, yes. Actually, yes. Sharon, you're on Facebook right now. You can find it on the Tracy Morrow Live Facebook page, but you can also find it on my YouTube channel. Just look for Tracy Morrow Design on YouTube and click Lives on the top menu, and it'll show you the videos from previous lives. There's probably close to 400 of them at this point. There's a lot. I've painted a lot. So I'm going to take a little bit of that mixture that I just used. I'm going to put it on my little point blender. You can use a dome blender. You can use your favorite dry brush. I'm just going to use this point blender. And I'm going to dry brush a little more highlight onto some of these leaves in very specific spots, just on the brightest highlight portion. Okay, it would be helpful if I left paint in the brush. I took too much out. Here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to add a little extra highlight with a lighter value of that margarita that I've thinned out with warm white. Just a little. The reason I do this is I really love the texture of canvas when it comes to painting things like this. There's something about enhancing that texture a little bit that really works. And you can brighten highlights, on these areas. Now, hi, Jackie. One of the things that you will notice is doing this because I'm all over the place. I'm going to take a little bit of that lamp black in any areas where you kind of scooched out, cleaning up areas that got a little light, or maybe the edges got a little too soft. You can come in and clean that up. That's the nice thing about working on a black background. You have the ability to sharpen edges. And you can sharpen overlaps too. There is absolutely nothing to stop you from creating those crisp edges that we all love. My problem is I get too excited. The one I used is a small one, size small. Taz been shifty? Maybe she dropped it on the floor. I got news for you. Taz is always shifty. And there's a very good likelihood that that's why I can't find my IPC blenders half the time, because she has a tendency to steal them. But it gives those leaves a really nice soft look. So I've got one other step I want to show you for these leaves. Is if you find that you're losing, the detail, all that fabulous detail in the center veins, you can go back in, pick up a little of that shading color, and you can just shade the one side. Just sharpen that center vein a little. It does two things. It not only does it sharpen that center vein, but it also makes that highlight pop. So if at any time, your shadows are starting to look a little peaky and your highlights are looking a little wanting, you can get the point blenders. They're called IPC Point Blender, and you can get them from the Brush Guys. Brush Guys are my go-to. Don't forget to use that coupon code. I've got one for them as well. And it's Tracy M, so you get a discount on your brushes. There we go. Now, the Brush Guys are a discount brush supplier, meaning that they have they get really great pricing because of the volume that they purchase. And instead of just making it their profit margin, they actually pass that saving on to you. So they're usually anywhere from 25 to 40% off of list. Yes, Sandy McTeer has them too. And my coupon code for Sandy is Tracy M. Oh, don't we all? We all need a new brush. So one of the things that I like about this particular technique, I really like the fact that these flowers are coming from in behind this frame and going out in front. So I need a nice deep shadow down here. So I'm going to take a little bit of that dark green, that Black Forest green. Yep, this one is the small point blender. There's 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. I have them all and I love them all, but I usually end up using that one the most. So we're going to use a little bit of that Black Forest green, and I'm going to pick up a tiny amount of lamp black, and I'm going to blend that in to get a very dark green. And then I'm going to shade into this bottom area by using that ultra dark green right down here. And in behind, crisp up that edge. We need it a little darker back there. Down at the bottom. And don't forget, you've got to come up that center vein a little too. Otherwise, it just looks like a stripe along the bottom, and you don't want that. You want this to feel like it belongs. So make sure you pull a little of that darker color up that center vein. Now that darker value is going to help make this look a little more dimensional. I'm going to darken this spot in here and in here. So now it looks a little bit more dimensional. I love that look. Now, the fun part is you're painting. You can come back and adjust things and tweak things as much as you want, whenever you want. That's the neat thing about painting. It is just paint. So I just saw a little flip over that I neglected. There is one right here. Just a tiny one. I love that little stroke of bright green at the highlight side of those leaves. They turned out so nice. I'm having way too much fun with this flower series. So I'm going to dry this and we're going to work on those blossoms. So I have poppies coming for this series, and I have columbine coming for this series too. Yep. Yeah, I have red poppies and columbine for this bunch. I love this style. There's something simple and elegant about it. These three have dragonflies, and I will probably do something with bumblebees and ladybugs because I like bugs. I love columbine. I have two beautiful plants in my front flower bed that are columbine, and I just think they're spectacular. So I'm going to give myself a clean palette, and we're going to tackle the flowers. I'm going to zoom out for a second here, a little bit. Oops, a daisy, a little too far. There we go. That's where I wanted to be. We're going to be using, this is a new color that Decorate put out this year. It's called After Dark. Did I ever think painting milkweed so I could include a monarch? Hi, Gwen. There we go. So I've got this beautiful purple tone that is not in the shot. There we go. This purple tone is just freaking gorgeous. It's almost like an eggplant color. This is such a beautiful tone, but it is quite transparent, which is a good thing for us. So I'm using a 3/8 angled shader, and we're going to start with the center vein, and then we're going to work the little ruffles at the edges of the petals. So I'm going to pick up a small amount of that After Dark. It's just a beautiful purple. You could use dioxazine, but honestly, it's not quite the same tone. It's a bit more jewel toned than this. And this one has that, I don't know, there's just something beautiful about this tone. So I'm going to start with this bud here, and we'll take care of this piece of business. And again, I'm floating. I'm using the whole chisel edge of my brush to put that float in. I'm going to dry it. I can certainly do gardenia or lilac. So I'm going to put a float of that right there along that seam. And along this side here. So you can see how this purple, this darker tone, changes that lavender haze. It instantly gives it such a rich look. So we have this little business back here. These are both those back petals. So we're going to shade that right there. And we're going to be quite aggressive about it. We're going to put a fair amount of that After Dark back there. And this one is just more of a sliver. There is a turnover on the edge of this petal, so I didn't want to bury that. So nice and dark down there. And I'll dry it. This color is just gorgeous. It's a bit more earthy, I think is the term, than our typical one. So when you're doing these ruffles at the edges of the petals, the part that goes up on this is the highlight portion. The part that goes down, which is in here, is that shaded portion. And it looks very rough. I promise you it will look better. There we go. The problem with painting florals that a lot of people get frustrated by is that it has a very long, ugly stage. And I get it. I did it ass backwards. No wonder I'm having so much trouble with this today. There's another value to having that sponge. After all of that, I put them in the wrong place. Okay. Let's see if I can get this right this time. So here's where I'm going to put that little float. See that curve? Hello. That's where your float goes. I did it backwards. Pardon me. That's the problem with having too much coffee. So anything that you do in those little spaces, they have to come back towards the center. You notice that the heel of the brush always comes back towards the center of the petal. Like that. It's very messy looking, I know. As I said, daylilies, star lilies, very pretty. I have daylilies, the little tiny yellow ones, and I just love them. So I'm going to put a float down the side here so I can gauge where this is going. There we go. So float, float, float. So this does look very sloppy and very messy for a little bit, but that's okay. Just take that float right to the edge. And remember to keep, it always has to come back pointing towards the center. I love this color. This color is just so elegant. And it's so beautiful. And I'm going to bring a line to the point. I'm going to put a float of this all the way around the beard that's showing, just like that. And I'll pull one up here like that. And do we need to come in a bit? There we go. How's that, Vicky? I just planted a couple of years ago and put them in my front flower bed, so that they're in behind some of the lower flowers at the front. And they are just so pretty. They're so delicate, but yet they're so, so pretty. So we have a shadow underneath this petal right here. And you're going to use very dark, very, very dark to shade that area, because it's essentially a flip over. There we go. So I'm going to put a float in there and up and around that. Oof. This one just looks so sloppy and so messy for a while, but it's okay. And I'm going to bring this down here. Oh, Gerbera daisies are so pretty. My front flower bed has this incredible clematis, big purple, like plate-sized blossoms on it. And I have the most incredible orange-colored echinacea. Completely by accident, I might add. I had no idea that they came in that color. I bought the plant and it wasn't in bloom at the time. I just assumed they were all purple. But as it turns out, no, they are not. And these ones are the most incredible shade of orange I have ever seen. They're just gorgeous. There we go. So I have the echinacea, I have lavender, I have white roses. I have a rose bed down at the front of the property. That's 3 different types of roses. And what else is in that bed? I have carnation, but they're a dwarf version, so they are like a ground cover. They're quite pretty. I have a couple of different types of ground cover. And then I have columbine and what's that other one? Blanket flowers, which I really love. I just think they're so quaint. Such a pretty little plant. And then the big bed up front has rhododendron and hydrangea and another plant of echinacea. It's a blue one. And I have lots of hostas. They do really well at the front of the property. Okay, so we've got a pretty rough looking lily, I would say. It's got a whole bunch of... I'm going to get this up close so you can really see. This is not absolute perfection by any stretch of the imagination. But we've got the direction, the curvature in the petals, and then we've got the little dips for those areas. Oh my God. Oh, you know what, Beverly? We have earwigs. We get a lot of them early in the spring or early in the summer when it's very humid. We get a lot of them, and I sprayed all of my flower beds and my roses for earwig, and they didn't destroy as much as they usually do. So the roses take a beating from the earwigs, and I use that earwig spray that I use, but it also works on so many other things, not just earwigs, so it gets rid of a lot of things. So the next thing we're going to tackle is the center of that beard on our flowers. Now, I used a little bit of baby duck, but we need something to sort of set this on fire. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange flame to pop these and get my sponge. So a little bit of orange. I love orange flame. And the part that is closest to the center of the flower is where we're going to put a float of that orange flame. Just like that. You don't want to hide all of it. Oh, Beverly, I think it's earwigs that are eating my roses. Because I spray for them every year. But I use a homemade remedy. A little bit of borax, dish soap, whatnot. It doesn't hurt the plants, but it kills off the earwigs. And then we've got this little bit back here. Gonna put a little orange in there as well. I don't know. That just makes those flowers pop, doesn't it? So rinse my brush. Here we go. This is my favorite part. Now I'm using wisteria for this. It's a lighter value of that base color, that lavender haze. So I'm going to use a little bit of wisteria. Now, if you've used wisteria for your base color, you're just going to add a little bit of warm white to it to do this next part. Wisteria is an elegant color. It's not just pretty, there's something elegant about this color. You just half expect to see this with, some vintage lace and a little flash of perhaps like a champagne gold or something. I just think it's an elegant looking color. It's subtle. And that's the reason I chose it for this. So we have areas in between our folds here, and we're going to put a highlight on them like this. So I'm floating right on top of that little space with a little bit of that wisteria. And it's just a little float. You can see it's just going to give a little highlight at the edge of that. So when you do this, use the brush on the chisel edge to pull the color back a little. And going to put a float right up that opposite side. Look at this. Opposite the shading, it gives a nice little divot to the center of that petal. I'm going to come up this opposite that shadow. It's going to crisp up that edge. Oops, daisy. Finger painting again. Yeah. Beer will drown them. But one of the things that beer does better than anything else is kill slugs. I absolutely hate slugs, and they can trash your garden so fast. There we go. So in between each of those little folds right there, right? Little float of that wisteria in there. And it creates that high point that you need. So looking more and more like it should. But it's still a little sketchy looking. That's okay. And I like to pull some of it back towards the center like this. It just gives it a little more. Yeah, little beer. That light purple color there is just so pretty. There we go. Now we're going to come over to that little bud. And I'm going to bring a little of that wisteria in there. A little bit to highlight that bud. And you blot it a little if it gets a little heavy. I love this. Such a pretty tone. And that wisteria is almost like almost as if we took a little soft gray and mixed it with that base color. But it's so pretty. There we go. Easy peasy. So our lilies are looking lily-ish. Oof. And then that pretty float down that center vein. It just makes such a pretty difference. So pretty. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to dry that. And then I'm going to take a little bit of warm white. Just a touch. Don't need much. This part is so much fun. I'm going to use my little domed blender. Squirrels eating your peaches, cat. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on that dome blender. And I'm just going to lightly dry brush the highlight parts. Just like we did on the leaves, we're going to use a little bit of warm white and a soft dry brush. There we go. I like this softer dry brush. It kind of mutes colors a little bit on this so it doesn't look so hard edged. And again, if anything goes off the edges, you can just pick up a little bit of lamp black on a, oops. See how quick that went from I'm so good to whoops-a-daisy. I have a knack for going to the whoopsie-daisy pretty quickly. I like the dry brush in between. It just sort of amps up that highlight a little bit without making it look too solid. I love that highlight. There we go. You can have so much fun with this. So we do have a little series of flip overs on these flowers. We're going to tackle that in a bit, but I'm going to need a 10-aught extra long or a 5-aught extra long detail liner. Ta-da! I'm using a Dynasty Micron because it's my favorite. And I'm going to take a little... I am avoiding that perfection. You're bloody well right. Where's the tea lady to collect my oops? I think sometimes people like to keep of my oopsies. That's okay. So I'm taking a little bit of that wisteria and I'm adding some warm white to it because I want it a little bit lighter. Oh, maybe Nancy collects my oops. Here we go. So I'm going to thin this out. And we're going to put in a couple of little flip overs here. Now I want a fine line to come down. And I'm going to paint in my little flip over there. And I'm going to come down here. Oops, I missed. I'm going to come down here. And I'm going to paint in my little flip over as well. I love little flip overs. I think they're important to have those little flips every once in a while. It keeps things from looking entirely too perfect. And then while you're at it, you're going to add just a lighter squiggly. I like squigglies. I'm just going to go around the edges of my flower here. Pop in a little flip over from time to time. I like the irregularities. I like the squigglies. This just makes petals look so light and airy. Those little details do not have to be perfect. Those little outlines, they can be squiggly and imperfect, and that just makes them better. And we have a little flip over here. And we're going to come down there. Look at that. I love squigglies. The nice thing about a flip over is if you have a spot that you are not happy with, I cannot think of a better place to put a little flip over, can you? Like that. Flip overs are wonderful little problem solvers. You have an area that just doesn't look all that great. A little flip over will go a long way to correcting some little issues, if you know what I mean. So here we go. Look, see? Flip over. Who knew? And besides, between you and me, it'll be our little secret. Who's to know if that little flip over was supposed to be there or not? So I'm going to do one more on this side. So we have a nice little ruffled edge on our lily. Look at that. Coming along. Hi, Rory. Oh, goodness. Good to have you with us. Isn't this pretty? So I'm going to dry this really well. And I know it still looks a little bit light, but we're going to remedy that very shortly. So I'm going to switch to my 1/2-inch angle and our extra long detail liner. So I'm going to take a little bit of glaze and we're going to heavily thin that yummy After Dark. And I love doing this part. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to bring a fine line right down to the point of our lily. And then in those edges, I'm going to bring in some very fine lines, just like that. Don't forget to split them off. They're not all the same length. They're not all, a strict Y. Some of them can have 2 or 3 coming off. Just lightly, with a very fine line, paint in some of those vein lines. Exactly, Debbie. Hi, Wanda. So there's the fine lines on that larger petal. So now I'm going to come down, straight down that center vein on this little corner petal. And I'm going to stroke in some fine lines. Some are going to have little branches coming off, some are not. And they can go in any direction. And give yourselves some grace, please. Don't. Enough people struggling these days. Paint should be the least of your worries. Here we go. So teeny tiny little vein lines. Make sure you come right up that center vein and split off. I don't like having them all perfect either. I kind of like them to, skip a spot. Some are going to have 2 vein lines coming up. Some are only going to have 1. Some will be at the point. Some will not. And nobody said they had to be. But that little detail does wonderful things. So we're nowhere near finished. We're still going to deepen some shading. We're going to add a few more little details, and we're going to add some more highlights to really amp this up a little bit. And the fun part about doing this type of floral is they're not meant to be hyper realistic. We're looking for the most important features on these flowers. So we've got nice little vein lines in here. This looks pretty good. See, look at that. It's getting there. And then I'm going to thin it out and we'll finish out this little one here. I love this little flower because, you know, that little boo-boo that I had there, I just fixed it up with a little flip at the end. Does wonders. This just gives you an opportunity to do some fun things. I love these vein lines. This color, even when you thin this color, it's still an intense purple. And it's just gorgeous. And you can do so many cool things with it. Make sure you got a good liner. It's amazing what a good little flip over will do for you. You can hide up to sins. I love this. This little iris is such a fun one to paint. Look at that. Now there's a spot here that is bugging me right here. I'm going to use a little bit of that after dark to do that. Ooh, I like it. So I've got all those little vein lines in. I'm going to dry this and then we're going to deepen some shading. You're happy if it comes out looking like a flower. It does. So I've got my 1/2 inch angle and I'm going to pick up a little bit of that after dark. And I'm going to come back in and I'm going to deepen some of that shading. And look what happens to these petals. The minute you deepen that, it's just a little float of that after dark. But these petals suddenly take on a lot more shape and a lot more depth. Choop. So now that color becomes a little deeper. And you can take that same color and come along the edge, even where the highlight was, but look what happens to those petals. They suddenly become rippled as opposed to just with a whole bunch of little loops everywhere. I love this. Just that little glaze of color up in behind this one. And we have a little flip over here, so we need a shadow in there to give that little flip a little more depth. There we go. And then Remember that shadow in the back? We're going to deepen that. Really deepen that. Couple more floats of that stronger color back there will give our lily a lot more depth. Look how pretty that is. Here we go. So so we've got all of that. Look at that. I'm going to dry that real quick. We're going to take a little bit of asphaltum. I'm going to dry that really well. Little bit of asphaltum. We're going to tone the centers a little. The bearded area of our lily with just a little float of asphaltum. And all this does is just tiny little float. It just gives this a little more depth. Doesn't need to be much, but it tones that orange. Iris. And then I have a fun little technique to texture the centers of these. I'm going to use my Posca pens for this. I've got black and I've got white. And I'm going to use the black to do the dots on the darkest area, which is up here. In those areas that I just floated over, I'm going to put a little bit of black. Just a few little tiny dots. Doesn't have to be much. Doesn't have to be perfect. This just adds a little bit of visual texture to the center. Much like when I'm doing daisies, I like using a dip dots to create a little texture, a little airiness in the center instead of a hard lump. So need some iris scented paint. Okay, there's a thought. So I'm going to highlight the centers with a few little white dots using the Posca pen, and I'm going to come past the edges of those beards just a little bit. Onto the petals, just a little bit. It just gives them a little airiness, something a little lighter, so it's not, doesn't look heavy. We wouldn't want everything to look heavy. Hi, Tess. What trouble are you getting into today? Hey? Or are you being oddly well behaved? Hey? You're so stinking cute. Little do we know. So, see those little dots just give the center a little airiness. There, be nice. So I'm going to come back in with my little point blender and some straight warm white. And I'm just going to lightly brighten a couple of highlights in just a few spaces. It doesn't have to be much. If you don't want to do that, you can do this. Just a little float of warm white. You know, just in a couple of spots. You can dry brush. You can stroke it in, float it in, however you want. It's just a light little highlight. Not enough. How many pieces are going to be in this series? Well, we're at 4 so far. And I have about 4 more sitting here already, so. I love doing the dip dots with Posca pens, especially because they stay nice and light. So let's talk about that gold border, because I think for me, this kind of makes this piece. So we're going to talk about rulers too, because I have a thing for rulers. I work a lot with steel ruler, simply because plastic rulers have a tendency to chip as they get older, and then you end up with rough edges whenever you use a plastic ruler. However, if you cannot get your hands on a steel-edged ruler with a cork back, then this is a trick that I've used. I have 2 rulers. They both sit flat on the surface. And the problem with that is if you're using a gold paint pen or a paint pen of any type, if you're running it along the edge, it will literally follow the underside of the ruler and you'll end up with bleeding all over the place. So here's my solution to that. I took a smaller ruler and I taped it to the larger ruler. So in this case, I've got my little brother plastic ruler, and I had one of these little dollar store rulers, and I taped it on so that I end up with something like this. It's got like a dome on it. So it acts like a spacer, so that when I put my ruler on the surface, the whole ruler doesn't sit on the surface. If I were to use this side of the ruler, I'd get paint bleeding a ruler, or something like this, or even a couple of pennies or nickels taped to the back side of the ruler will help as well. But you need to get the edge of the ruler off the surface so that you avoid bleeding. Now, I'm using a gold Posca pen. This one is a 0.25, which means it's got a nice fine point. And I'm going to put a nice fine, not that fine. Obviously, I didn't shake this well enough. What are you looking at? Unshaded. Okay, left iris in the center. This spot in here, it's actually textured. I was supposed to put dots of black in there. It's part of this petal folding over. And I was supposed to put some black dots on it, and I forgot. I will do that in a minute. She meant between these 2 beards. There's a little purple spot in here. I didn't even paint it purple the first time. I painted it white and then just put dip dots over top of it. Oh, I can't move the pal paper. That's the canvas, but there you go. So I have to oh, good Lord. Okay, now I've got gold paint. So again, I'm going to gold border and wipe the edge of your ruler. So up top, you can see that you're going to stop and start a little bit, because there's a spot here and a spot here and a spot here, a little one there. You're going to stop and start before you hit the floral with the gold border. Ta-da! I should zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. There we go. Now I can zoom in a bit. There we go. So I'm going to dry this, because otherwise I will put either my hand or my ruler right in the wet paint, and God knows that. The brand name of my camera is an Elgato, E-L-G-A-T-O.
Oh, it says it right on the lens. I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the 2 side edges. Again, make sure you stop short of the petal. I have to turn it this way because I can't see what I'm doing. So just stop short of the petal in each case. Made a mess. I made a mess. I pushed too hard. And now I've got splatters of gold on that side, but that's okay. We can fix it. We have the technology.
I'll get you the actual model number. It's the Elgato Facecam 4K 60.
So while Renee is getting the wheel ready.
Studio webcam.
Yep. I'm going to dry this well, and then we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. Remember what I said about being able to clean up. Grab my black paint.
Clean up, cover up.
Yeah, clean up, cover up, whatever. Smart ass.
That's true.
It is. Doesn't mean you had to point it out.
Sorry.
So whenever you get little wobbles and bobbles or spots that you don't like, and you want a crisper edge, especially when you're doing a floral, black background, it's nice to have that crisp edge. So you can take a brush, an angled shader, a round, a liner, whatever you want to use, and you can go in and clean up those little areas that perhaps you're not thrilled with. You know, little areas that just don't please you. So you can clean those up with a little bit of background color. And then I'm going to show you a little technique to make these flowers come off of that border a little bit. So I'm using an angled shader. I'm using a small one. You can use 1/4 inch or 1/3/8, just something small. Don't need a big one. And you're going to pick up a generous float of lamp black, because that's your background color. And then you're going to float over the gold border with the black towards the flower, like so. And what this does is it puts that little border back a little bit, so it appears as if the flowers are blocking the light from hitting the gold border. And just walk it up the gold a little bit. Then you end up with a really nice little gradient. What you giggling about?
Apparently I'm being bad.
You're always bad. I'm sorry, gang. He's a smart ass by nature.
Where do I get it from?
I don't know. I almost said that with a straight face. Almost. I tried. So there's that little shadow, and it just sets that border back enough to give you the illusion that the flowers are popping forward. Now I'm going to take that same lamp black, and I'm going to bring a little bit of that into these leaves, just a little. I don't want it to be pure black, but I need it to be a little bit. And it just deepens the color, sharpens that shadow very nicely. Et voila. So we've got our lovely little dragonfly, our pretty little iris. The only thing we have left to do is to sign this. And I'm going to use my Posca pen for that. But I think I'm going to use my gold one. So take a little time, go around, clean up anything you don't like, any little smudges of paint, what have you, anything that doesn't sit well with you. And to seal this, I used 1 or 2 light coats of DecoArt matte spray just to seal it. And it gives it a nice low sheen, but it also makes those colors really, really pop. What's that?
You gotta zoom in.
I gotta zoom out. Zoom out. So this one is unvarnished and this one is sealed. I've got oh goodness.
Yeah,
I had my finger in white paint. I'm finger painting again today. Good Lord. I finger paint every day. What am I talking about? If you don't get dirty, you didn't have fun. I got to block out my signature now because I smeared it all over the place. Good God. There we go. Thank heavens it's only paint. I have no idea how I did that. Let's try it again.
With gold this time.
Well, I did it with gold the first time. I just managed to put my finger in white paint and then got it all over the canvas.
Get a picture.
Facebook?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Facebook's being weird.
Yep. Such a fun piece to paint.
Off to the wheel. 1 second to bring it up.
Renee's getting the wheel ready. This is another little trick that I've been using. I tucked a 4x4 or a 6x6 art panel into the back of my 8x8 canvas so that I had a nice firm surface to put that border on with. And then I didn't have to fight against the flexing of the canvas. Works a treat.
Here we go.
Wheels ready?
Wheel is ready.
All right, give her a spin.
I need my notepad.
It's right there.
Oh, it is right there. Pen.
All kinds of them.
Tons of them.
Something
How many
you'll never have a shortage of in this studio is pens and pencils.
So how many you got?
We have 2 giveaways today. Don't forget, we are giving away 2 sets of 3 brushes of the Evo Art. These are new from Dynasty. I think you're really going to love them, especially if you like mixed media or watercolor. They're fantastic. And of course, we also always have some other goodies included in that as well. So, spin the wheel.
Spinning. When did those brushes come out?
They came out in January. That's when they were launched. But they are relatively new. But I'm really enjoying them. Linda Deming. Awesome.
Oh, it's only 1 M. I put 2.
That's okay. That's because Deming is our dentist. And the next one goes to, Renee's going to give that another spin. Judy Coates. Awesome. So as always, guys, if your name is drawn for one of our giveaways, you have to go over to the website and click on the Contact Us button and send us your shipping information, please, so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. And yes, we're still shipping to the United States. Don't worry. Nobody's exempt. When it comes to giveaways, nobody is exempt. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you did. This was so much fun. I enjoy painting with you guys. So I'm taking a week off. So I won't be live next Saturday.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. However, I do have a video for you, so you'll be able to paint anyway. So hopefully you'll check that out. If you get an opportunity, the 50% off print pattern sale is still on. We have e-packets are also still on, and use the coupon code summer26. That is good until Monday. So if you're looking for a deal on surfaces or stencils or whatever, pretty much applies to everything on the website. So take advantage of that while it's still up, and be ready to play with some decoupage papers in the next few weeks, because we have some fun stuff coming up for that as well. Everybody, in the meantime, have a fantastic week, and I will see you the following Saturday, and I will see you on Facebook. If you have not subscribed to my website or to my YouTube channel, please do so. Click on the big red subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you get notified anytime I go live or when we add new video. And if you follow me on Facebook, if you go to the Tracy Moore Live page, hit that big follow button. We would appreciate it. And don't forget to drop into either one of those and say hi anytime you like. And watch for my posts on color. And I've got a new series coming up on tips, so keep your eyes peeled for that one too. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Mwah. Love ya. Stay safe.
Yeah, pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
Gotta demand the pets.
Demand the pets. The Bubba Dogs.